What's going on, guys? It's Jake. We're back in for another YouTube video. Today we're going to be changing the transmission fluid and also the rear differential fluid. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind in the last couple videos. I just haven't been able to get it all off my chest, and that is the reason why this build isn't progressing as fast as some other builds you might see on YouTube. And there's a couple reasons behind this. We'll talk about some of the more important stuff first. So the first thing is that I've been waiting on a lot of parts, and without those important parts, I can't really push forward on the build. So for example, I need my exhaust parts to test fit the turbo, and then I'd like to do that before I show you guys which turbo I chose, etc. and all that stuff. And then I can't do any of my boost lines until my turbo is mounted, and I can't mount my custom catch can setup until my turbo is mounted. So it's kind of holding me back in that regard. And also the clear timing covers. I can't put the harmonic balancer on, I can't put the radiator on, I can't put the front mount intercooler on, I can't put the oil cooler on. So that's really been the biggest thing, because yes, there are little things that I can do with the build to kind of get ready for these bigger parts to come, so that way we're like one step ahead almost. But it's extremely hard to want to work on it when you don't feel like you're really making that much progress on these little tiny things. You know that they're eventually going to need to be done, but at the same time they're very time consuming, like making all the boost lines and certain stuff like that just is hard to get motivated to do. So the second reason is that I've really taken on this triathlon training really hard this summer, and I've dedicated at least 8 to 10 hours a week just training for this kind of stuff. So that makes it extremely hard for me to find time to work on this thing. By the time I get done doing all that stuff, I really don't feel like doing much of nothing, and I'm always thinking about this thing and what to do next, but I never really get that much time to work on it except the weekends some. So that's really been the second thing. So some good news that I do have is that my exhaust parts are going to be here relatively soon. You guys are probably seeing this video on a Monday, and my exhaust parts should be shipping out that same day. So hopefully in the next video or the next couple videos, you guys will see the exhaust parts, and also all good news about the timing covers as well, because I have gotten word that they are not far from shipping out too. So once we get those parts in, we're gonna have a lot of cool content for you guys. A lot of times on YouTube or on these car shows that you see on like Motor Trend or whatever, when you're watching TV, they go through a whole entire build in a matter of an hour. And that's extremely entertaining, don't get me wrong, it's so fun to watch. But when it comes down to actually doing the job, when you're a one-man band like what I am, you film, you edit, you do all the work to the car yourself, it takes a lot longer than how fast the shop may be able to get that same build done. And what you don't see is that they've been filming that one-hour episode for multiple months on end to try to get it done and to get the build where it is, you know, on TV. Now granted, some of them are doing more work, some of them are doing less work, so, and also they might have 3 or 4 guys on one job trying to get it done. So that's kind of been, you know, what's been going on. I don't really want to make excuses, but you know, this kind of stuff really does take time, and I want it to be done right. So any of you guys that are watching, you can probably appreciate that. But without further ado, I wanted to get that off my chest, and now we can go ahead and start to change this transmission fluid and the rear diff fluid. So my local Subaru dealership recommended the Motul branded oil. So this is what we're going to be using. It's called Gear 300 SAE 75 weight by 90. So this is apparently some really good stuff. The reason why I went with this, and the reason why I'm even changing gear oil at all, is because when Andrew Tech did all that work for me on this car to wire the 6-speed swap, I also needed them to fill up the transmission, and they filled it up with this green gear oil that I have been told is very dangerous to run in these cars for the synchros and stuff. So I want to get that out of there. Good thing that we weren't pushing some real power. We might have done some bad stuff to the transmission if we were, but we're going to get this stuff in there so it should be strong. You know, this is basically top of the line for all your transmission, gear oil, engine oil, all that stuff. So very excited to get this in here, and that'll just put us one step ahead. Whenever we get some actual parts to get this thing together, we won't have any question that our gear oil needs to be changed, and also our rear differential oil. Without further ado, let's get under the car, look at the transmission, find the drain plug, show you guys what we need tool wise, and yeah, let's get started. Alright guys, so I figured I would take a look at the rear differential first, because I actually got under the car and realized that I don't have the correct socket to drain the front differential and transmission. So we're gonna have to get that tomorrow and we'll finish the video out then. But I wanted to go ahead and do the rear differential today. So what you're gonna need is a 1/2" ratchet. I just have this little adapter down here to show you guys because I don't have my ratchet yet, but this is basically just gonna push into there. And you have a drain plug right here and a fill plug right here. So you're gonna wanna break them both loose because you're gonna wanna make sure that you can get both of them out before you go draining your gear oil. So we're gonna break them both loose and then we'll go ahead and drain this thing. Shouldn't hold much, I think it's right around a quart. And then we will go ahead and fill it back up, but we'll show you guys. So stay tuned, we'll get this thing draining. Alright guys, so we just drained the rear differential fluid and we have our bottom plug here, which is our drain plug, and we have our top plug here, which is our fill plug. Now the way you can differentiate these is the bottom one has a little magnet on it, so it will catch any fragments of material left from the gears. So what you're going to want to do is clean that thing up really good. So we'll just wipe it off real well, get all the metal shavings off of it, and just burn up oil. Then after we do that, there's a little bit of sealer around the top of this plug. And I want to mention that this plug is a tapered fit, and so is the top one. And so what that means is it just basically tightens up, and the bottom portion of these threads are a little bit more narrow than the top portion. So it tightens up as it gets threaded in, tapered fit. And one thing we're going to do is we're going to clean these plugs up and put some of this white thread sealer on these plugs. Some of you guys use the tape. I'm going to use the paste version. So it's actually like some liquid kind of thread tape. I've had really good luck with that. So that's what we're gonna use. I'm gonna get a wire brush and clean all this old sealer off. So that way we'll have some new stuff in there and we can make sure that it doesn't leak. So we'll do that. Then we'll catch up with you guys when we go to fill it up. So stay tuned. Alright guys, so we made our way to the front of the car. We're going to work on draining the transmission fluid and also the front diff fluid. So what you have here is one drain plug here for your transmission and then one here for your front diff. And so this is a T70 Torx, and I will get back to you on what size that is. But basically what you're going to do is grab your T70, and I had to get this from AutoZone because Napa did not have it. You're going to put your T70 in there. And then we're just gonna try to break that thing loose. Make sure that your socket is seated all the way. So I'm gonna let that one go ahead and drain for about 15 or 20 minutes. It will be a little bit faster if you just drove the car, but obviously we didn't just drive the car. So I'm gonna let that drain 15 or 20 minutes. We'll plug that one up and then we'll go ahead and drain the front diff, so stay tuned. All right guys, so it's been draining here for about 15-20 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and put this plug back in. Now the difference between this plug and the rear diff plug is that these up front use metal washers, so you're gonna wanna make sure you change those just so that way you don't have any type of leaks. So we're gonna go ahead and put that in there. You're gonna make sure the sealing surface up in there is also clean. And I will go ahead and tighten this thing up, and I'll share with you guys the torque specs on the screen. All right, I got that thing nice and tight. Sometimes I don't really like to use a torque wrench, and this is one of those cases just because I really have a good idea as to how tight something like this needs to be. So I got it how I like it, and that's good. So now we're gonna go ahead and drain this one here, and this one is a 14mm. So we're gonna take our ratchet, pretty self-explanatory. So this one shouldn't take quite as long as the one before. We'll give it probably 10 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and plug her up, and we'll go ahead and fill this thing up. So I will put up the torque spec for this one, and I'll catch up with you guys when we fill it up, so stay tuned. All right guys, so we're up top here, and most of you guys are gonna need either a slinky style funnel, or you're gonna need to take off your top mount intercooler, or both. So I actually lucked out and I have this straight funnel that sits down in there pretty well, and we're gonna go ahead and fill this thing up now. So I'm pretty sure it holds about 4.7 quarts. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little over 4 in it, check it, and then put a little more and check it until I'm happy with the level. But I'll show you guys and we'll catch up with you after, so stay tuned. Alright, so this is going to conclude the video for today. You're going to want to just put about 4 quarts in your transmission, and you're going to add little by little as you go, just so that way, like I said, you don't overfill it. But yeah, we're going to conclude the video here, so hope you guys enjoyed. I didn't see too much content on YouTube as far as changing the 6-speed transmission fluid and the rear diff fluid, so hope it helped you out. If it did, make sure you drop a like, hit that subscribe button. We'll be back for a new video soon, so stay tuned. Peace.